All right, so I'm sure many people have seen the just crazy heat, and yes, it is crazy that we have here. The Midwest has just been completely lit up for like the past month and a half, and it is due to a big time anomaly called a heat dome. This is the worst heat dome since 1936. Now, this is going to kind of be swung as an existential global warming climate change threat. And I'll talk about that in a second, and all the heat indexes. I'm sure people are saying that's one of the things that I saw. I saw a few days ago, they were like, oh, the heat index in Missouri is 124 degrees. And listen, I used to study weather when I was younger. I was like, 124 degrees in Missouri, that's ridiculous. And whenever you see one of those heat index things, people tend to think, you know, when it's really cold out and you get the real feel temperature with wind chill, like if it's 10 degrees, but the wind is like gusting at 12 miles per hour, and it says the real feel is -2. Well, people think, oh, it calculates the humidity. So obviously if it's, 87 degrees and it just rained and now it's sunny out, the humidity's really high, the real feel temperature is going to be like 95 or 96. That is not what the heat index is. The heat index is something completely different. I saw a reading of 178 degrees for a heat index somewhere in the Middle East a few days ago, and 178 degrees, even with humidity factored in, would literally melt, pavement and melt the tarmac at the airport. So that just doesn't make any sense. So they keep using the heat index, heat index, heat index. A lot of it is actually malfunctioning. Now, when it comes to a heat dome, it is caused when atmosphere traps hot ocean air as if bounded by a lid or a cap. Heat domes happen when strong, high-pressure atmospheric conditions remain stationary for an unusual amount of time, preventing convection and precipitation and keeping hot air trapped within a region. This can be caused by multiple factors, including a potential La Nina. The upper air weather patterns are slow to move, and that is what we are dealing with and we've been dealing with for the past month. Now, when it comes to the creation of heat domes, they are very rare. Normally created in still, dry summer conditions, a mass of warm air builds up. The high pressure from the Earth's atmosphere pushes the warm air down. The air is compressed, and as its net heat is now in a smaller volume, it must get hotter. The warm air attempts to rise, and the high pressure above it forces it down to get hotter, and its pressure grows higher. The air pressure acts as a dome, causing everything below it to get hotter and hotter. The term is often used in the media terminology for any heat wave situation. I can't tell you the last time I've heard the terminology heat dome actually be used. But yeah, so this is a very abnormal thing that normally doesn't happen. But guys, this is some serious, serious heat. There's no doubt about it. It is caused by a heat dome. And yes, this is 100% going to be used. I think at the end of the summer, probably in September or October, they're going to be doing some type of massive debrief on these temperatures, because all of this is going to be used as a reason the United States and the citizens need to make sacrifices in the name of climate change, in the name of global warming. Of course, everyone agrees that yes, we have evolved, and due to our evolution, due to us making cars, building factories, we have, put out a lot of CO2 emissions. It's made the earth warmer. We agree on that. But if you look at the actual data, China is over 2 times. I've said this since 2019. China is double the United States in CO2 emissions. If we actually care about getting this under control, the United States, by the way, when you look at the line graphs, we're going down. Our CO2 emissions are getting less and less. If we actually care about climate change, the United States citizens, we don't have to give up any of our rights when it comes to, it's like we need to give something up to preserve the climate. No. Number one, China needs to get their CO2 emissions down. That's number one. Come back to me when China gets theirs down. We can band together on this. If we really think it's getting too hot, I agree it's bad. We need to go to Beijing, go to Shanghai, and tell them you need to get it down. It's out of control. And I think it's only going to get worse and worse for China because their economy right now is in a deflation period where all of their prices are going down. Their unemployment is skyrocketed. There will be a bunch more slave labor that China probably pushes in the coming years to prop up their economy after the pandemic collapse where they shut everything down for a year and a half. The United States only shut down their economy for a month. Look at what it did to us. It created massive inflation because we gave people stimulus checks to do nothing. And now China's got it 10 times worse because they shut down for a lot longer. But overall, this heat dome, it is completely rare. And they're going to try and say, oh, there's going to be more and more heat domes because it's getting hotter, hotter, and hotter. When in reality, the last major heat dome we had was 1936, and it happened right in the Midwest, right in the same area. And this seems to be another alignment. I mean, I saw the temperatures. I was like, oh my goodness. The thing is, guys, I always check the temperatures in South Dakota and like Montana, and it's like 105 degrees. Are you kidding me? And the thing is, the lows are in the 80s, the high 70s and low 80s. It's like the Middle East. It's just crazy. But that is the situation in regards to the heat dome and how hot it's gotten. And this is just going to be a smorgasbord of propaganda. This may be the next big thing for the 2024 election. I guess that leads into the next, situation we have on our hands. We've got the masks coming back. Look at this. Jamie Lee Curtis, I think she should probably be. Are they doing a new, Halloween movie? Maybe. I actually like going to see the Halloween movies, even though they're so ridiculous. But look at this. Jamie Lee Curtis with one of those masks that even Dr. Fauci himself has come out and said, yes, the masks don't do anything. She says, and we're back. No, not Michael Myers, but masking will be back. And they're, apparently they're putting mandates in. I just don't know where these people get their information from. Everyone has admitted that masks don't work, and the N95 ones are actually the worst out of anything you could put on because they restrict your breathing, they hurt your lungs because of the way the air is filtered in and just how hard it is to breathe. So you should not be wearing any mask pretty much unless, I don't even know the situation based on any doctor you talk to. They all admit, yes, the masks did basically nothing, and it's actually the masks, because they were so mass produced, they've created significant problems when it comes to the pollution of the masks along shorelines because people just throw their masks on the ground, they a bunch of garbage, and it's created horrible pollution, and it's actually helping. If you care about the climate, it is hurting the climate when you wear masks because a lot of times people just take them off, they throw them on the ground, and then they all collect along the shoreline. That's another thing they won't tell you when it comes to the masks. So really, this whole thing, they're like, oh, they're going to bring masks back. They're going to up the mandates because they, want more mail-in ballots for 2024. I can guarantee you, number one, they're not shutting anything down. Remember back in mid-2020 when Democrats were obsessed with shutting the government down? The number one reason they were obsessed with that was because it was a re-election year for Donald Trump. The one saving grace that Donald Trump had, for all of his faults, was he had a very, very good economy at the time, going into March of 2020. And then, of course, Democrats are going to say, we have to shut everything down. So there goes the one big, thing that you had as an incumbent, because at that point, Trump was going to have the incumbent advantage. He was going to have a really good economy with basically no inflation. Inflation was 2%. And even Democrats, if you look at the polls on the U.S. economy, Republicans, it was like 90% said it was good. 50% of Democrats admitted it was good, and it was like 66% independents. So overall, going into that shutdown, it was like 72% of, U.S. citizens admitted the economy was doing good under Trump. And of course, Democrats wanted to shut down. It was a re-election year. They knew that would kill Trump's economy. They're not going to do that again during a re-election year for Biden. So we're not getting any type of shutdown unless some crazy thing happens to where, the new variant is just so ridiculous. Even then, I think they're going to try and avoid a government shutdown because it would probably be a death sentence for Biden in that scenario. And then it's the idea, is Biden going to run? Who knows at this point? We've got the housing market in 2023. Oh, that's actually a good price. But yeah, guys, so I've seen some things on the housing market and it's so tough right now. I've got some money to invest. I would love to invest it, but I am very concerned about this housing crash. Now, over the past 4 or 5 months, we have seen a slight downtrend in housing prices across the US. It seems like we are headed for a massive possible recession here because of a housing market crash. Do not buy houses right now. If you are someone that's young, this is actually probably good news because we will very likely have a massive downtrend in terms of the economy. Maybe it'll be a recession, maybe it won't, but it will make the houses a lot more affordable probably by 2025 or 2026. We've got breaking news. Donald Trump bond has been set at $200,000 over a Georgia case. Oh my God. How will Donald Trump be able to afford the bond? But guys, we do have the big debate coming up tonight, the Republican debate. I guess I'll give maybe some things to watch just really quickly. Number one, yeah, I think it's very obvious some of these, candidates going up there. Chris Christie, he has no intention of being the Republican nominee. He's going up there to take shots at Donald Trump. Predictably, after the debate, CNN and MSNBC will say he won the debate. I can pretty much guarantee that. But this comes down to DeSantis and Ramaswamy. And DeSantis, without Trump there, I think it's a godsend for him. If Trump was there, for better or for worse, he would take up probably 40 or 50% of the time just with questions to him, with people responding to him. Without Trump there, DeSantis is really going to have the floor, and he's got to do something. I mean, his campaign is really struggling, but he should use this as a moment and say, I'm number one on the debate stage, Vivek is number two, and it kind of goes by polling, so, Nikki Haley's going to be there. I think they have Mike Pence at number 3. That's just a complete waste of time, but it is going to come down to Ramaswamy versus DeSantis tonight during the debate, and I would expect Ramaswamy to be loved, by the MAGA people. They're going to probably say he won the debate. We'll see what happens with DeSantis. Unfortunately, DeSantis, right at the beginning of his campaign, he paid a bunch of influencers on social media to, talk him up and say he should be the nominee. His campaign just feels really inorganic, unfortunately, because DeSantis is the one guy that the problem he has right now when it comes to the Republican side, he's not an outsider. He's more establishment, and it's like people cannot shake that. And if they're not going to vote for Trump, they'll just vote for Vivek over DeSantis. With him being attached to the establishment, being in politics for a while now, that's a major hurdle that a lot of Republicans are just not going to end up voting for him because of it. But you know what? This is DeSantis' chance, so we'll have to see what happens there. And Ramaswamy is just so impressive. I mean, everyone says it, but there's still probably a lot of people that don't know who he is. So I'm sure he's going to be, he's the smartest guy up there. There's no denying that. And he'll probably be very, very impressive, very articulate. All the others, I think Tim Scott, Nikki Haley are similar. It is what it is. They're probably both running for VP. Tim Scott, they might try and push him as the establishment loved by Fox News type character. We'll have to see. And then the other two, Bergrum and Hutchinson, completely irrelevant. So that's just my opinion on that. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.